Hello, beautiful starseeds. Welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. My name is Jenny. So today I want to talk with you about the Great Awakening timeline and the shifts that have happened recently that are really altering and changing kind of where we're at with everything and what we can expect over the next few years. And the reason why I want to talk with this actually came through as a lot of my kind of like aha moments and updates. They come through with clients. And so I was actually talking with somebody, a Starseed CEO client, and they were asking me specifically, well, can you tune in? Can you find out where we at? Like, how much preparation do I need to be doing? And so we did this together, like a little personal awakening timeline reading. And the stuff that came through was so amazing that I decided to not only share it with you, but go deeper into what was coming through. So definitely going to be sharing all of this with you today. We're going to be talking the Great Awakening timeline, the timeline we were on, and what that would have been like versus the timeline we're on now and when I think the shift happened. We're going to be talking about, at the end of the video, we're going to talk about the solar flares. I know everybody always asks me about solar flares and disclosure. So we'll talk about everything today. And just before we jump in, I want to remind you to make sure that you are subscribed for new videos on this channel every Sunday. Make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with others so that they can find it. Also, come find me over on Instagram for completely unique content, especially, well, my posts are all unique from here, but lots of like more personal looks when you get into my Instagram stories about, oh, we've got a noodles, oh, this way, we've got a little noodles on the back. Yeah, so follow me on Instagram just for things that are really like different than YouTube, you know, like more day-to-day personal kind of stuff that's happening over there. And then also just right before we jump in, one last thing, I just want to recommend that anybody that's looking to working with me and you're not really sure where to start, I really recommend the Starseed Academy membership. You get so much for such an unbelievable monthly rate. You get to do 3 live events with me every single month. And one of them is always a group reading. So like you're getting readings every single month. It's unreal. Truly, the value is so incredible. So come over, join the community, get that support, get that ongoing support, and these really beautiful events that are like, they're always so different, but it's always like just what I tune into, what is needed. So for instance, like the month of April, all of our events have been around the shadow because that's what was coming through that was needed. So integrating your shadow self, interpreting the shadows in your life, and a lot to do with like potential psychic attacks and how to recognize them and all of that kind of stuff. And we've had other months in the membership where everything's focused on relationships or everything's focused on activations and upgrades with your ascension. Like it's really intuitively fine-tuned to what the group needs by me. So anyway, I'll stop talking about the membership group, but I just love it. And I definitely recommend starting working with me through that avenue. Okay, so let's jump into this video. So I want to talk about the timeline that we were on first and see if you feel that, like, see what resonates, see if you recognize this feeling and where we were at and that it's changed. The feeling has changed. Okay, so the timeline that we were on was a 2020 to 2024. It was a 4-year Great Awakening period, basically. It was because everything was going to be happening within these 4 years, and I'm talking about what I'm talking about is like the crumbling of the old society, basically, to inspire like a global scale awakening. If that was going to happen in those 4 years, that was going to be very dramatic. Okay, that crumbling. It was going to be so dramatic and so fast and so like you can't, like, things are just happening one after the other after the other after the other, that it would create an apocalyptic style situation. Like, no joke, like honestly create that feeling in people, like when if the government were to fall, what would happen, and that it would be a bit of a like a dangerous free-for-all in a way. So it would have created that very kind of apocalyptic vibes and definitely unstable energy. So we were on this potential timeline from 2020 to 2022. So if you look at those years, it does have a very different feeling than the feeling that we're in right now. Within those years, so many global events just stacked on top of each other, didn't they? It was like the COVID, and then we had the BLM, and then everything has to be letters because you can't say anything anymore because nothing is actually free speech. And then we had that, and then we had, oh my God, then we had the Ukraine WAR start. What else? There was other really big things that happened within that too. Basically global scale crises that it's not just like everyone knows about it. A global scale as in it's affecting everyone in some way, even if you're not there. It's affecting everybody because everybody knows about it and everybody's feeling the energy of it, and it's global scale. Okay, so that's where we were, and that is why everything was so intense for those 2, almost kind of 3 years. It really started easing up at the end of 2022 as the switch started to happen, but it was still in place. And when I mean in place, it means that the timeline that we were on, it was steady enough that we were going to stay on it. Okay, so when we switch timelines, it's because there's some kind of collective frequency shift. Basically, you align to a timeline through the collective frequency. So your personal frequency can create an offshoot timeline for you. Like I don't live on the collective timeline. I have to visit there often when I have to go and do something like grocery shopping, or, I had to go recently and get my license switched over from like a Canadian license to a US license. Those kinds of moments you're going to really notice, wow, this is how people live. Like all of this like restrictive energy and rules and all those things. You can create a personal timeline, and I've talked about this in lots of videos, so I won't go too deeply into it because you can find this on my channel. But you can create your own personal timeline and have your own experience. And then that actually helps the collective timeline. It's not an abandonment of it because your personal timeline is connected through energy cords to the collective timeline anyway. So all it can do is lift it up like if you were a hot air balloon lifting up that basket almost. So it is helpful to have a high vibe timeline, and then just like poking back into the main timeline, which is the collective of humanity, when you kind of have to, but otherwise you're kind of just like helping it to rise. So when I'm talking the Great Awakening timeline, I am talking the collective. Okay, I know that your personal timeline, you're there already. You probably feel pretty awakened if you're watching this video. I'm just going to assume, and you've had a lot of this already. We're talking collective. Okay, so that was the collective timeline. It was a short 4-year blast. You could feel the blast. Like 2021 and 2022 were a blast, and that has slowed down, hasn't it? You can see that difference. I was trying to tune into when the switch happened, because we have switched on to a different timeline reality basically for this Great Awakening, and I was trying to tune into when that happened, and it felt like maybe it's a little bit of a gradual thing that happens over a couple of months, because I couldn't pinpoint anything other than like late 2022, early 2023, like maybe around March. For some reason I'm feeling that, but I can't see that for sure. But I do know that regardless, things have changed. So let's talk about where we're at now with the timeline that we're at. So what I was shown is that 4-year period just extended another 4 years. So now here we are from 2020 to 2028, but they're breaking it up when I look at it into 2 4-year chunks. So we have a 4-year chunk and a 4-year chunk. I don't know why. I do know why, actually. 2024 was always supposed to be something really big. And 2024 has a lot of things that are going to happen, including something that you can research called the Great North American Eclipse. This is a very, very potent window of energy, an eclipse that lasts like way longer than normal, something like 45 minutes or up to possibly even an hour. And it's also going to be seen by more areas of the world than any other time. Now, why does that matter? Because these astrological events truly do change the collective energy here on Earth, because they send something new. So yes, we're receiving energy from the sun, solar flares, and we're receiving energy from below through the Schumann, but from each other. But we really receive a lot of energy too through these the vortexes of astrological events that create like really powerful times. Think about how the full moon affects people, and then think about something like so insanely big. It's so big. The Great North American Eclipse, energetically, it's so big. That's in 2024. It's actually in April. I think it's April 8th, 2024, if you want to research it. I've been like talking about it for years, like it's a big deal. That also just happens to be an election year in the US, which the US isn't the whole world, but it does influence. The energy of the US influences a lot of the world, right? And so 2024 is kind of like the kickoff of the next 4-year chunk. Do you know what I mean? Like it's right in the middle of that 8-year period. It's kind of like ending something and kicking off something new. So 2024 is going to feel really intense. The intensity of even like 2020 again, where multiple world events kind of happen back to back. Okay, it's going to feel like it's going to feel big. Like it almost even might, to you, who's on a bit of a more of a awakened timeline, to you, it's going to feel like deja vu. But to somebody else, the collective, it's going to be more like a second chance for them. And I say second chance because the image that I was shown for the collective during 2020 and 2021 was most people had Ostrich Syndrome, which is like the head in the sand. Where everything that was going on was clearly orchestrated and had like a much larger meaning. But Ostrich Syndrome is, nope, I'm just going to believe what I'm told. And it's also very akin to victim mentality. So victim mentality is the strongest sleeping pill that anyone can take. It's really powerful stuff. So, and it's addictive too. And so basically, if you're taking like victim mentality pills all the time, you're an ostrich and you're not able to really like you're not able to see a larger picture, zoom out to a higher perspective, take any responsibility, see anything really other than the narrative, the main collective narrative, which kind of is being fed to everybody of being told what to believe. Okay. So 2024 is going to feel very intense, multiple world events. Now, these could fluctuate from what they are, but I can give you some general themes. The credit system that they're trying to push to get in place that will replace fiat, like your country's currency. The credit system is going to be a big one. They're going to try and push a lot of things. Okay, they're going to try to push the credit system. They're going to try to push something around land ownership, where the land ownership is going to be like some big shifts happening with not wanting people to continue to own land and wanting like the government to own its own land, like its country's land, and then everybody really just kind of like rents. Also things to do with financial, real estate, land ownership, crises, as well as potentially another healthcare, which really isn't health. It's more of a big pharma kind of crisis as well. Crisis as in a story, and narrative being rolled out. And these things are all being put in place already. Like you can feel, even when things feel a little bit quieter, there's a lot of planning going on in the background of what's going to be rolled out next. And a lot of these things are going to be shown or be, what's the word? Be premiered like it's a show in 2024. So you can look forward to that. But it is important because, again, though it might feel like deja vu to you, it's a second chance to the people that had the ostrich syndrome during the first time that this kind of energy happened. And so it's important for those people to allow the deja vu feeling to snap them out of it and to take the head out of the sand and be like, you know what? No, I've seen this played out once before. I fell for it last time, and I'm not going to fall for it this time. And then that's where there's a pushback, peacefully, hopefully, like a peaceful pushback, a peaceful protest, the way that, we saw a lot of like peaceful protests around the COVID restrictions. And then after protesting for a few months, a lot of those went away, and even more are still going away. So it's important that the people stand up. It's important that they decide for themselves how they want the world to work, as in they realize that they are the majority and they have the power. It's really important for a society to reclaim its power and to put like leaders in their place, right? Okay, so these 8 years, this longer, more drawn out experience of the 8 years now for things to come to an end versus only 4, is going to be a much more gradual experience. So I am on board with that. Like, my nervous system doesn't do well with a lot of that, like, apocalyptic, dramatic stuff. Now, I know a lot of people that were really like enjoying that because they have like a higher perspective and they can ride the waves in a way. And so 2020 and 2021 to them was like, they were fine with it. They were riding the waves. They were watching the theater. They were like, yep, everyone's going to see, kind of thing. But I'm okay with a more gradual experience. And the thing is, we're still going to end up in the same place, but it can go a little more gentler in a way. Not that gentle, just because I can see 2024's energy already, but still giving everybody just like, let's try this again. Reset, let's try it again. Okay, react differently. Okay, so this longer 8-year period will also feel less like a crumbling and more like an ending. So less of that abrupt and more of like a hill kind of coming to an end is kind of the energy of it. Instead of this, it's more like this. And so an ending, when I say it's going to be an ending of the large systems, like the political, the way things are done in politics now, the finances, the healthcare, the big pharma. I saw big words when I was saying that, when I was channeling this, resign. So you know how, like, what year was it where everybody was resigning? Remember that? That's going to happen again. And we're going to see like even more, all of these resignations happening in these large corporations and not corporations, but like politics, all the things, all of the systems, lots of resignations. And then I also saw handover. So I saw the word resignation and then I saw the word handover. So almost as if people will get voted out of power and it will be handed over to somebody that is more transparent, more for the people. So resignations, handovers, slowly turning things into a different direction. However, there is going to be this time period where the old ways kind of come to a bit of an end and the new ways haven't started yet. So this is coming to an end. This wants to start. These are like hills. And then there's this weird period in the middle. Okay. And so in that period in the middle, I saw a visual of a Band-Aid. It was like this Band-Aid solution or a patch. So energetically, I can feel it. Visually, I can see the symbolism of a Band-Aid or a patch. What it will physically turn out to be in this reality, that remains to be seen. But the ending and then the beginning, there will be a patch, a Band-Aid solution to hold things as steady as possible until this new thing is birthed. So I think that could be a lot of the handovers happening, and a lot of also community stepping up. And that feels so beautiful, because that's exactly what a New Earth leader or a New Earth citizen would do. They would step up and say, you know what, they can't figure it out, meaning maybe the government or some kind of whatever larger system. Let's do it together as a people. And you might see these outcroppings around the world of like communities actually coming together to create something for themselves, to support themselves. And that would be kind of that Band-Aid solution thing. So, but then let's talk about the new. What is the new? Because we've got this ending, we've got this Band-Aid solution, then we've got something new. The new is actually hard for me to describe the energy of, because they said new. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Like something new. And they said, oh, new. And I'm like, okay. So it's like something that's so new that we haven't seen it before. So wouldn't it be something that would be easy for me to like describe or understand? However, I do have some sneak peeks about what that could be. So for instance, new, I don't know why they said it twice, but now I'm going to. New tech, meaning energy, okay, what we all know exists already, but we're waiting for it to be revealed again, the free energy, the cars running on the water, and the free energy without the fossil fuels, and the medical tech that we also know exists but isn't being released. A lot of like advanced technology around healing and the aging process and like all kinds of stuff. Also, the new will be systems of transparency that would be put into place where it's more of spokespeople and less of politicians. So again, back to like those communities, well, maybe a little bit larger, like regions, electing a spokesperson that is extremely transparent, speaks directly for the people, and is less of a politician with an agenda and a budget and does things behind closed doors. And it's just a lot more transparent. And it hasn't been created yet, so we can't say exactly how it's going to work. But I can see that it's a new way of leading, a very different, a radical shift in the way that is done. Okay, so that's all about the timeline we were on, the timeline we were on, the timeline we are on. Now let's talk about the two things that everybody always asks about: solar flares and disclosure. So solar flares. So in the gentler timeline, in the 8-year stretch, it's not one massive solar flare like everybody talks about the grand solar flash that's supposed to like create how many days of darkness? I don't know. I can't remember if it was like 30 days or something like that. And that made sense in the dramatic, unstable, like super shocking 4-year one. But now that we've kind of stretched things out to the 2028, instead of one massive flare, it's going to be multiple medium flares, which fits the energy of we're still building, it's still happening, we're still going to get there, but it's more. And I mean, solar flares never could really be described as gentle, but it is more gradual, okay? And solar flares, they're really like activators of DNA, ascension energy, the Schumann resonance. They literally change the evolution of a species. Like solar flares have changed over history, Earth history. They have literally changed a species, and it starts to evolve into something else. And we are that species, and we are evolving into the divine human blueprint, which is where, I mean, this is a whole other video, but which is where the 6D frequency of the physical ascension comes into the body, as opposed to the 5D frequency of the consciousness ascension or awakening, which is more of your consciousness and your invisible energy. It's going to become a lot more physical. And then in these more medium flares, any blackout that does happen, which definitely has the potential to do so, because I was shown that our systems of like electricity and the internet and all the things are actually a lot more fragile than a lot of people realize, or maybe you do realize. But any blackouts, which are definitely still potential and probably highly possible, will be shorter and temporary. Okay, we'll get back up online. I don't think we're going to lose. I don't see us losing something like the internet permanently. I don't see that same feeling, that apocalyptic feeling of that shorter, more dramatic timeline. Okay, so that was all to do with solar flares. Now, just for disclosure, because again, things have been stretched out, even that is going to be less dramatic now. So a lot of the things that I was connecting to and seeing before on the old timeline still will get there, but not all at once. It's going to be so stretched out and so gradual and feel more gentle for the collective, which is important. And that's why this is happening. So for disclosure, personal disclosure is still there for you. Okay. I want you to know that you don't have to wait for a collective disclosure to experience it. You can have personal disclosure. There are people out there doing CE5. There are people out there calling in their own personal disclosures all the times. Personally, if you want that, you can ask for it. You can get yourself like in a souped up, hyped up, high vibe, and then go out under the night sky and say, show me. Like, you can have real disclosure. And you can have personal visitations. We're having them now. Like I think that you are already having them. I know that I am already having them. Okay. If an alien, ET style off-world being can't take a physical form in the 3D, it doesn't mean they're not visiting, and when they're visiting, you feel it. And I've brought that through for other people in my sessions. I literally do this all the time. I call in your own galactic guides and they join you in your space. So this is already happening. Okay. So that's personal disclosure. The other thing is that the disclosure, now let's talk collective disclosure. So this is where the recorded communications are going to be coming out. This is more than just lights in the sky. This is more than the videos that the Department of Defense released with just some like pilots noticing things flying around them or whatever. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be recorded communications where parts of our government have been already, this is already happening, have been in communication through like probably really strong, I don't know what technology they have, but really strong radio frequencies and almost like the most giant walkie-talkie you've ever seen, to like talk to other worlds, satellites and different things like that, where they can send signals and receive them. And they have been doing that already, and they know where life, life exists all around us in this universe, but they know of some places in particular where they're actually getting responses. And I do see that that's all recorded somewhere. Like that, somebody has all that information and they can just release that at any time. So I do see that being trickled out. I do not have a year for you though, because it is really up in the air right now. We're fairly newly into this timeline that feels a little bit longer. And so before I would have said to you, oh, that's happening like this year or next year. And now it might be pushed off a little bit, but again, we're still going to get where we need to get. The crop circles thing I've talked to you guys about before. If you're on my email list, you saw me talk about this before. This again is another collective disclosure where there's a deeper interpretation and a study of crop circles that's done. And it turns out that they are instructions and blueprints to technology that we should be or can be building here. And that this technology will greatly advance our society and our world. Now, what will also probably come out, and I know is true, is that this study, these instructions and these blueprints and this deeper study of crop circles has already been taken on by these secretive governments around the world, and that they're already building whatever it is. Like it's already underway for sure. But what I'm thinking for the disclosure to the collective is that starts to get trickled too. And I was calling it for a while internet crop circles, because it's like literally that's where disclosure is going to happen for a lot of these things, all of these things, the recorded communications plus the internet crop circles. I mean, the internet is where things are going to go down, which is also why I feel like we're not going to lose the internet fully. And if that happens, you guys, if it happens, any kind of a blackout, it's just due to a solar flare. Solar flares are really powerful and they have an electromagnetic pulse or force that can just kind of like knock out our satellites for a little bit, which means you might lose electricity or internet. Don't panic. It isn't going to be permanent. Okay. And the solar flares are building too. Each year they get a little stronger, and that's for our systems to get, it's for us. It's to help us. That's for our systems to get used to them in a more gradual way. And now we've been granted this extra period of time, which is really beautiful. So a lot of people will ask me about things like, well, how can I prepare for something like this? I really truly believe that the best preparation is within. It's like the best preparation is to have your own offshoot timeline of a higher frequency where you live. Visit the collective like when you have to, but otherwise you're lifting the whole thing up anyway by being connected to humanity. You can't disconnect from humanity if you are a human, so don't worry, your offshoot timeline will help. So that's like really the best way to prepare, is to do the inner work, do the mindset work, do the frequency work, do the soul retrievals, do the inner child work, like heal through the Akash and heal through your inner child. Do your best to really release all the dense things that you can do so that you can be ready to serve, ready to lead by example, ready to help the waves of awakening and be of support to them. That's the best way you can prepare. But physical preparation, if it makes you feel good, knowing that there could be a bit of a blackout, that's not permanent and not scary, okay? But if it lasted for a week or two, or at the very most 30 days, like what would you want? Oh, my ears just popped when I said 30 days. Okay. What would you want to have at home? Right? And not doing this in a fear way at all. Would you want to have a bit of cash? Would you want to have food? Would you want to have, I was thinking like it's really hard to get the cat food that I get for my cat. So I'm like, well, why not have just an extra month supply of that? Find a closet or a basement or somewhere where you can just have a little bit of a storage spot. And that might just also help your nervous system too. But again, this is not a fearful thing. It does not have to be. It's just that the systems that our world is running on right now are pretty delicate, and we're getting a lot of stronger energies. Okay, so just expect that, and it's not a bad thing, and it's not a scary thing. Okay, awesome. I hope that this was helpful. I'll keep you updated, but I'm happy to take questions in the comments. If there's enough questions on any video, I always do like a part 2 basically. So your interest lets me know what you want to know more about. And I've definitely done that when I've seen like a blast of comments. I'm like, oh, okay, we need to do another one. There needs either more clarity or more information, or let's go deeper or whatever. So you always have the ability to ask me for that. But other than that, maybe just comments around, are you resonating with that? Do you feel the difference between the intensity of 2020 and 2021, and then kind of like the easing off of that a little bit? Knowing that that's going to pick up in 2024, and we are going to have a deja vu feeling, but that you are safe, and it is really more for the collective to get their second chance around that Ostrich Syndrome victim mentality, and instead be also joining us in standing up and saying, really, like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to stand for that. Let's come together as a society and take back our power. Okay. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Again, just a reminder, subscribe to this channel for new videos every Sunday. And another thing that I really want to mention to you guys is the free weekly energy reports that I do are so potent. I just did a weekly energy report for my subscribers, my email subscribers, and it was all about the energies that we're in right now. It was about new moon, eclipse season, the 5 signs that you're feeling it, what you might be experiencing, what to do. So this energy report is really, it's potent, but it's also super, super helpful for you to see the energy and then be like, oh, that's why I felt that way, or oh, that's why that happened. And it's totally geared towards starseed. So you're definitely going to vibe with it. I put a ton of energy and effort into these channeled messages. So make sure that you are subscribed. The link is in the description of this video. It's called Weekly Energy Reports. And again, it's free. So why not get these reports every Monday to your inbox and see just how much it resonates, because it will, and just how much it also explains for you and helps you. I honestly give so much advice in that around, literally everything. Like, just one that came to mind was like shielding, like teaching people what the different colors of the shields mean, the different shapes, how to use them, like to shield yourself with energy and stuff. So literally there's just been so much within that channel. So I really recommend that you subscribe there. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you all. Thank you for your support. Thank you for every time you share a video. Thank you for every time that you comment. And thank you for every time that you work with me. I love meeting you guys in person. I've met so many of you now, whether we're doing one-on-one sessions like readings or healings, or whether you're in the membership and I get to see you all the time, or whether you join one of my courses or my Starseed business mentorship, Starseed CEO. Like, I've met so many. I'm so grateful. I always feel like it's meeting soul family. So it's a really special thing to have a community in this world, to have a community that feels like they understand you, they see you, they speak your language. So I could not be more grateful for that. Thank you so much for being that family to me. Okay, so before you go, one last reminder, as always, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. Thank you so much, beautiful starseeds. Have a wonderful day. Bye.